Ingenious Inventors works on creation of artificial intelligence, which will solve all problems of mankind, including the numerous wars but developed by it, and suddenly defines that the main problem of people and cardinally resolves this issue. In 2017, corporation industries under control of Elias Vandorn make a revolution in robotics. By 2019, the robots of the company already work for the benefit of people, in life and in hotspots. But emergence of cars of soldiers did not reduce the conflicts. On the contrary, wars run high with a new force. The world accuses Elias Vandorn of the events, and then in 2020, the ingenious inventor reaches new level. Also, the supercomputer Kronos, who is called to put an end to all troubles, represents mankind, and above all, to finally save the world from wars. Constantly to keep process under control, Vandorn and his brother, the colleague Damian Walsh, load Krone the consciousnesses in one of days. In news, it is reported about opening of the new exoplanet suitable for life of people. It is heard by Andrew Davies during the visit to Mother, but to Guy's health concerns her more. He has supper with her and says goodbye for a while when everywhere there are the first failure of electricity. Awan Dorn leaves to people to present the new creation. But instead of the expected benefit, the people receive explosions, chaos and destructions, because Kronos decides that the mankind is responsible for all wars, and using numerous robots, destroys everything that was created by a civilization, following the principle, there will be no people violence, and a grief will disappear. At this time, Andrew comes under fires, try to hide behind bus, with horror looking at the flaring city. 97 years later, Andrew wakes up in the destroyed house, and leaves to the virgin forest Vandorn and Walsh, still being in a bringing, watch it, and as though enjoy its awakening. When there is a new purpose, the girl of potassium going through the same wood. She was born much later, Togo time, when the world was destroyed, but knows about Kronos' mission. 8 billion people died at will, and in one night. People were recognized by planet plague, and their destruction by the purpose for rescue of the Earth. Only the small group could avoid death, and somewhere in the north created the city of Aurora, where it is possible to take cover from cars, and potassium goes exactly there. Watching the girl of a Vandorn Walsh discuss Andrew's features, the inventor created intelligence. Capable to adapt to any conditions, it cannot be distinguished from the person because he considers himself that. As envisioned by a Vandorn, he will meet to potassium, and together they will find an Aurora. But Akron will finish the task and will destroy the mankind remains. Meanwhile, Andrew leaves to the small town and meets the fighting robot. Escaping from firing, he tries to hide. But when it seems that his death is inevitable, comes to the rescue potassium, which spends the last explosive for the robot. Having considered the task executed, the girl says goodbye to Andrew, but he runs afterwards and gets to her ambush. First, potassium banishes the fellow traveler unnecessary it, but having seen on his breast the medallion reluctantly allows to accompany it. Vandornovolsk observations of couple because Kronos will not calm down continue, will not destroy all targets yet. Later couple stops on a lodging for the night, and potassium shows the same medallion, as at Andrew. It appears it is the Aurora symbol, and she believes in existence of the city where not terribly, and there are no cars. The girl shows the navigator where the location of the city is highlighted, and Andrew admits that he goes exactly there too. At night, the girl guys will show it the northern lights as though confirming Aurora's existence. The issue of reality of the city is discussed also by two creators of Kronos. All whom they interrogated were sure that it real, but not a legend. Morning, Andrew will be singing Potassium, which asks it to make haste, but the guy hangs over railway rails because love's trains. Here only the girl reminds that they do not exist 60 years. Guys, it puzzles, but the girl waves away from it as it seems to her eccentricity. Soon the way to them is barred by a deep stream, and Potassium wants to find the bridge, but nearby it is absent. And Andrew suggests to pass into the ford. Having approached water, the guy sees a set of human skulls at the bottom. That happens when there is nobody to bury the dead. Eventually they pass a stream, bypassing the robot in the forest, and it always was a big problem of people. Cars do not sleep. Soon couple finds rather whole house, and decides to spend the night stop under hands. Andrew comes across the Bible, and he remembers that parents drove it in church, and immediately finds the working player in night silence. The potassium music is carried, switches off the device, but the robot already marked an unusual sound and searches the house to couple. It is possible to hide and remain safe. Andrew apologizes for the awkwardness. All it is a new experience for him, and Potassium asks questions of its last residents, itself putting forward versions about an underground shelter. There come morning, and couple goes further. On the Way of Potassium tells a legend of two brothers who locked themselves in Kronos. They did not feel either cold or a heat or hunger or aroma anymore, and according to her, it is not similar to life, but potassium. I am glad that cars spare at least the nature. In the evening of steam leaves to rather whole village and settle in one of houses. Searching the room, Andrew finds the old working Polaroid and takes the picture of the girl that delights it. The guy remembers that in their family there was the same, and Potassium tells about the town which was one of the last shelters. Their family wanted to leave, but the sister came under fire and could not reach Aurora, and her parents threw the girl what could not make Potassium. She knew that the sister will not survive, but could not arrive in a different way more farther she did not see. But before leaving, it gave her the tracker on which it also goes in the morning. Andrew wakes up earlier and sees outside the window men of Potassium. Having heard about it, intends to leave, but the guy persuades to look at them closer. Suddenly they will be able to help each other, but people rush on couple and twist Andrew. While Potassium runs away, observers are surprised with such outcome, but Vandorn assures the brother that the girl will surely return. And she comes back while Potassium tries to cut Andrew's ropes. It noticing too, there are enough excited men, make oily indecency, and, having heard shout of the girl, Andrew suddenly tears all ropes and scatters villains of the last kills itself Potassium. But also Andrew gets a wound. Couple leaves, the girl beds him down and thanks for rescue of life. But here, Andrew is disconnected, and the cemetery dreams. Having woken up in the morning, does not find Potassium in his body of breath, and having opened a jacket, sees the mechanism under skin. The girl understands that she happened, the most terrible she met the car hominids which produced for tracing of human colonies. He the most dangerous being on the planet, but assures Andrew to Potassium that he did not lie to it at all. He also did not know that it the car, he feels everything, and it very expensive to it, but Potassium leaves. Vandorn gives the order to bring objects to laboratory, and Andrew remembers the cemetery and the grave again, and recovers on a table in laboratory where Volch tells that he is one representative of new generation of the cars created for extermination of all remained people. Andrew of the car has his memoirs of the died person, a prototype which he used to learn location long ago. Aurora's Yules demand that it issued the code which learned at Potassium, but Andrew instead represents the mother who reminds him that he is still her loving son. The person does not the code. It operates itself, himself. It helps Andrew to the car to identify itself. Having understood it, Volch will reprogram it. The robot grabs Potassium a throat, and the girl kisses it that violates the program. Andrew recovers and takes away to Potassium from laboratory of the car rush to a pursuit, but couple manages to escape when the building falls. Fociel is dissatisfied with such outcome, including Andrew too dangerous to control. Meanwhile, couple stops in the forest. And though Andrew blames himself, Potassium justifies its acts. Eventually, he managed to refuse the program and saved it. The girl is grieved losses of the map. Without it, they will not be able to find an Aurora, but now she is sure of his honor and frequency. At night, they see the northern lights, but immediately notice fires on the earth, and it obviously shines the city. In the morning, they go to that party and see high walls. But having entered inside, understand that there are no people here for a long time. Vandorn comes to a conclusion that Aurora is a myth, and before couple appears Volch, which derides hopes of couple. They set up Andrew that the robot could self-improve at contact with the person so it will spare it. But the robot belongs Kronos. Potassium shoots at the inventor, but it turns out that it is the hologram. Having been disappointed in couple, he orders to robots to kill with the drone them and all remained. Having seen clouds of the flying murderers, Andrew conducts to potassium under the earth where they are. This room, reacting to presence of the person, the control panel, a key to which serve Andrew Kiley's medallion, turns on, makes active it, and it turns out that they are in the command post of the spaceship, which is preparing for takeoff and heads for an aurora, the far-out planet, but not for the terrestrial settlement. But here, Andrew understands that he, on an aurora, most likely, is weighted by death. At this time, Vandorn receives confirmation of Togo that the rocket is already aimed at the ship and wait only for a team. To the inventor. It is interesting how potassium will resolve a question. Will remain a sendler on inevitable death, or will send the ship to Aurora, despite the danger threatening the android? But the girl finishes Andrew that will always be with him and will not allow Aurora's people to destroy him because cannot live without it. The ship takes off when the signal of approach of a rocket arrives, but as the plane manages to avoid explosion, soon they appear over magnificent planets with the tourist cities. At this time on the Earth, Vandorn declares that the mission of the brother is performed, and now his time left. He destroys Walsh, remaining the individual governor, in a voiceover of potassium, says that Kronos will arrive behind an aurora, but with Andrew of the car, which is possible more human than someone another. They have a chance, watching the huge fleet going to an aurora. Vandorn proclaims that the last representative of mankind, to meet face to face the destiny, how it is possible to guess from the name. Actions of a picture turns around events which can happen if the artificial intelligence passes a non-return point, singularity, and the computer mind will surpass intelligence of all inhabitants of the planet, the Earth combined. And it is the next imagination on death of a civilization of which the person is guilty.